The gap between rich and poor has grown by a third in the last decade.
We used to dream the egalitarian dreams. The top 20% are now 100 times richer than the bottom 20%.
Inequality in Australia has gotten worse. Philip Lowe says strongly rising asset prices like housing over the last 5 to 6 years have seen the rich get richer while the gap with the poor has become bigger.
By 2020, the cost of the average dwelling had soared to $870,000.
The real estate market in Sydney is crazy.
It's an incredibly fast pace.
7.6.
7.8 million. 7.8. I like your style, sir. And there's the bid. 8 million. 825. 825.
An overview of the Sydney Latte Line. So what is the Sydney Latte Line? The Sydney Latte Line is an imaginary line dividing the Sydney metropolitan area socio-economically, where people situated above the line are more advantaged than those below the line. Within the Sydney metropolitan area, spanning from the northernmost point of Palm Beach down to Campbelltown, there is an evidently large difference in the level of incomes and the lives of the 5 million individuals who call Sydney home. The imaginary geographical line starts adjacent to Sydney Airport, spanning northwest past Parramatta. This line shows how Sydney is split in halves in terms of opportunity and socio-economic levels. Individuals living north of the Latte Line live in more affluent suburbs and usually have a higher household disposable income than those living on the south of the line. Individuals earning low incomes struggle to pay off their mortgage and rarely get the opportunity to leave the constant cycle of financial stress. In my study, I compared the areas of Western Sydney, home to some of the lowest income earners, to that of Eastern Sydney, home to some of the highest income earners in Australia. My research question was, what is the difference in the well-being and opportunity of individuals living on each side of the Sydney Latte Line, and how does this affect their lives? My predictions were that those individuals living in the eastern suburbs at a higher socio-economic area would be more advantaged and therefore have a lower level of financial stress, leading to a better quality of life. For my primary research, I conducted both visual and statistical research so that I can compare the two locations visually with statistical information to back it up. My first primary research included fieldwork and a collection of photos and videos from my studied areas, where I also used spatial analysis of Google Maps and Six Maps to analyze the suburbs from above, while my second type of research was a survey that I conducted in order to gather my own statistical information. Now that we have visualised the areas, let's take a look at my findings from the survey that I conducted to see statistically what life is like in each of these areas. My second type of primary research involved a survey which I sent out to people through Facebook public groups and the Woollahra Council newsletter, where I got over 100 responses from individuals living on each side of the latte line. From my first question, I found that the average household income of individuals who live in the western suburbs is 70 to 90,000, whereas the average income bracket for those living in the eastern suburbs was more than double, with an average household income of 200 to 300,000. Which of the following represents your highest study attainment? The most common for the western suburbs was TAFE, certificate or a diploma, while in the east it was a postgraduate degree. How many hours do you work a week? For this question, my results for both the western suburbs and eastern suburbs averaged the same, with the most common answer being between 30 to 44 hours worked per week. However, most of the 50+ hour responses I received were from individuals living in the east. I then asked individuals to rank these following criteria in relation to Sydney. 90% of people said that access to affordable housing was poor. Majority of individuals living in both the western suburbs and eastern suburbs owned their home, where more people living in the eastern suburbs were leasing. Safety in your place of residence. Again, the majority of individuals said that they never felt unsafe in their place of residence, making Sydney a safe place to live. Unfortunately, there were a few responses saying that they always felt unsafe, and all of them were individuals living in the western suburbs. Most people who were stressed with their financial situation were situated in the west, making it a burden for individuals, whereas high-income earners rarely worry about this. Every person that completed the survey said that they are satisfied, justifying how money doesn't always matter as long as you are happy and comfortable, with a satisfactory level of well-being, which most people seem to have. In my secondary research, I created suburb profiles, a place where I can put all my statistics of the specific suburb I'm studying so that I can compare that with my survey findings. I also used Google to find relevant websites and articles where I could use other people's findings and compare them with my own. One of the best articles I found was a study of the latte line done by Western Sydney University, where they compared Western Sydney to Eastern Sydney. Their research was extensive and showed similar results to my own. Health across the Sydney latte line. This graph shows how lung cancer is more prevalent in the western suburbs than the eastern suburbs due to there being a higher smoking population in the west. Surprisingly, life expectancy in the east is 2 years higher than that of the west. Not surprisingly, the average taxable income in the east is nearly double to that of Western Sydney. This graph shows that people living in the east work on average more hours a week, with 18% working more than 49 hours a week compared to 13% in the west. On this map of the Sydney metropolitan area, it shows suburbs in the blues average house price is lower than average median, while the suburbs in the yellow are above the average median. This is interesting as it shows the NAPLAN results of schools within Sydney, where there is a near perfect split where schools on the north of the latte line are performing better than those on the south. In this bar graph, it shows how 22% of individuals living in the east have a bachelor's degree, while only half in the west attain a bachelor's degree. This statistic shows how people generally said that they feel safer living in the eastern suburbs compared to the west, as the crime rates tend to be lower in the east. From my research, I have found that although the eastern suburbs may look like a more desirable place to live, it does not mean people are always happy and comfortable. Results from my survey showed that when I questioned them about if they are satisfied with where they live and the opportunities given to them, most individuals said that they are satisfied.
It will provide 725,000 new homes, improving housing affordability with greater choice for buyers and renters, first-timers or downsizers. It supports a minimum of 817,000 new jobs over the next 20 years. And as we travel more in our city, up to 22 million trips per day by 2036, the 30-minute city will bring jobs and services closer to where we live.